29. And whatever god or goddess hath said, Come unto me, ye that are heavily laden, and I will give you rest, for I am the way of salvation and of light and of everlasting life, then that god or goddess shall be bound in the first resurrection as long as mortals or angels go unto him or her. 30. Behold, as such a god called, and they answered unto him, So do I give unto both, the God that calleth, and the subject that runneth unto him. For I give liberty even unto mine enemies. 31. But when a subject goeth to a god, and saith, Behold, thou hast said, Whither I go, I will call all men unto me, and I believed in thee, then that god shall not put him away. 32. Whilst Osiris was worshipped, I gave unto Osiris the false. 33. Whilst Ashtaroth was worshipped, I gave unto her. 34. Whilst Baal was worshipped, I gave unto Baal. 35. But when any of these gods were no longer worshipped, behold, I gave them no more subjects. 36. As long as Brahma is worshipped, I will give unto him, who is before me. 37. As long as Buddha is worshipped, I will give unto him, who is before me. 38. As long as Krishna is worshipped, I will give unto him, who is before me. 39. As long as Mohammedans are upheld on the earth, I will give unto him, who built up Muhammad. 40. And, when all of you have purified, and raised up all those who idolize you, in that same time, will I raise you up to higher heavens also. 41. Es said, and now, when the voice ceased, and all was still, the false gods and goddesses raised up their heads, and they spake with one voice, saying, 42. Thou art just, O Jehovah. Unto thee do I now covenant that I will serve thee forever. Neither will I aspire to rise to higher heavens till I have raised up all whom I have led astray. 43. Make me strong, O Jehovah, in this my everlasting covenant. 44. Teach me, O Father, the labor I should do, that thou shalt be glorified forever. 45. Thus ended the judgment. God's marshals removed them to the places allotted for them, and they went to work. Chapter 18. 1. Es said, Such, then, was the fate of the chief false gods in the lower heavens. 2. But, during the last 300 or 400 years, many of the officers of these false gods had seceded from them, and had set up small heavenly kingdoms of their own. And their mortal followers were called sects. 3. These little heavens were, for the most part, situated on the earth, and usually these small gods inhabited the churches where mortals came to worship. 4. And the preachers within these churches fell under the inspiration of these itinerant gods and their gangs of wandering spirits. 5. In Guatama, these inspirations were carried to such an extent, by these Druidian gods, that the mortals of one sect were made hostile, one sect against another. 6. An enmity, therefore, existed betwixt Protestants and Catholics, and betwixt Protestants themselves, and betwixt all of these and the Jews. And, not only on earth, betwixt mortals, did these things take place, but these petty gods had small kingdoms of their own, as a Presbyterian heaven, a Methodist heaven, a Baptist heaven, and so on. And, when a mortal member died, his spirit fell into his heaven, where he had lived, becoming a servant to these Druas. And, when he cried out, I want to go to Jesus, I want to go to Christa, he was shown the Druidian god, and told, that is he. The which he would believe to be true. For what is bound on earth, is bound in heaven. 7. A Druidian god, Piad, established a sect, and named it Mormon, and he located his kingdom on earth with his mortal followers, and he became master over the spirits of his mortal followers in the same way, calling himself, the true Christe. 8. Piad taught that all good Mormons would ultimately attain to rule over some planet and her heavens. But, he never permitted the angels of his kingdom to go out of his reach. He also taught mortals, that the more numerous progeny a man begot, the greater would be his heavenly kingdom, in time to come. For this was Piad's scheme, to make his own heavenly kingdom large and powerful. 9. Another Druidian god, Loganis, established a kingdom on earth, and named it Shaker Heaven, pretending he was the true Christe. And his place became a heavenly bondage unto himself. 10. Another Druidian god, Sayuan, established a heavenly kingdom on earth, and called it the all-highest heaven. 11. This lord called himself the Lord. He raised up a mortal, Swedenborg, whom he took in spirit, subjectively, into many of the lowest heavens and hells, saying to him, 12. Behold, they that serve not the Lord. How hard it is with them. And he further said, This place of darkness is the Brahman heaven, that place of darkness is the Buddhist heaven. But this place of light is my heaven, I, the Lord. 13. Thus did this Druidian god establish a Swedenborg heaven, and mortals looked upon him as the true Christa, and, after death, their souls went thither. 14. So, it came to pass, as had been prophesied of old, Lo, Christa, here. Lo, Christa, there. 15. And, as it was with Luomong's heavenly kingdoms, thus split into hundreds of remnants, even so was it with the heavenly kingdoms of the other false gods, Brahma, the false, and Buddha, the false, so that there were on the earth thousands of petty gods' heavenly kingdoms of darkness and misery. 16. Now, all of these Drugian gods, whether of Shinya, or Vindhya, or Arabanya, or Europa, or Guatama, rejected Jehovah, but took the name of some one of the four false gods, and protested that he himself was the real and true God and Savior. 17. And mortal sects, that followed them, did the same thing. The Presbyterian professed the true Christa, but denounced all others as false. The Methodist professed the true Christa, but denounced all others as false. The Mormon professed the true Christa, but denounced all others. The Roman Catholics also professed the true Christa, but denounced all others as false. Even so was it with all of them, and none of them practiced righteousness and good works, but were warriors and money-getters, for self's sake. 18. God had said, Behold, I give a new testimony unto the nations of the earth, in the time I overcame, and cast out the four heads of the beast. The acrimony existing between different sects began, suddenly, to die out, and they spake friendly to one another. 19. And it was so. Chapter 19. The dawn of Kosmon. 1. S said, Now, whilst the holy council was still sitting in paradise, a light, like a star, came, and stood above the throne of God. And the voice came out of the light, saying, 2. Behold, the false gods are cast out, and sent unto their places. 3. Never more shall there be any other false god, or lord, or saviour, to lead my people away. 4. I am sufficient unto mine own creations. 5. Let this, therefore, be the beginning of the Kosmon era. 6. My people have settled the whole earth around, from east to west. The lands on the western borders of Guatama have become inhabited. 7. Go, then, my God, my Son, open the gates of heaven unto mortals. 8. Let my angels meet them, and talk with them, face to face. 9. Behold, my Etherean ambassadress, Chesivianatheotes, cometh in a sea of fire. 10. The ships of the Etherean goddess were seen descending from the higher heavens, coming as an open ring, to embrace the whole earth. 11. Again, the voice spake out of the light, saying, 12. I know no distinctions of men, of races, or sects, or doctrines, or past revelations. All people are my people. 13. Open the gates of heaven, let my angels speak to mortals. 14. Swifter and swifter came the Etherean archangels, till all the heavens of paradise were encircled in the love of the Almighty. 15. Then God called out the legions who had the matter in charge, where mortals had been born for the work of Jehovah's kingdom. And God said, 16. Open the gates of heaven, let the angels of heaven speak with mortals, the time of the Father's kingdom is at hand. 17. Open the gates of heaven. Let the angels come forth in power. 18. And in Hydesville, in Guatama, on the earth, the angels opened the door in Jehovah's name, to be not closed again forever, forever. The first spirit rappings began intelligently in the same year of the beginning of the settlement of California. They both correspond to 1848, of the Christian era. In round numbers in these revelations they are placed at 1850 AD. The general downfall of Christianity did not begin to manifest till several years afterward. And the same may be said of Buddhism and Brahmanism and Mohammedanism. The free intercourse around the world, especially with China and Japan, did not take place till 3 or 4 or 5 years after the spirit manifestations. The Roman Catholic Church did not cast out Christ, and declare the Pope infallible, instead, and vicegerent, till some 6 or 7 years after the beginning of the Kosmon era. And it was still several years after this, when Garibaldi and Victor Emmanuel overthrew the earthly kingdom of Christ in Rome. Yet, in the life of a world, these matters may be considered accomplished at the same time. Plate 91. Ark of Kosmon. Showing the earth in the 32nd year of the Kosmon era. Jehovah said, When the world approacheth Daninga in Sabia, the nations shall be quickened with new light, for Kosmon cometh out of the midst. And my Etherean host shall press upon the understanding of men, and they shall fill all the nations and kingdoms with new discoveries and inventions and books of learning. And men shall be conceited of themselves above all the ages past, and they shall deny me and quarrel with my name, and cast me out. But I will come upon them as a father, in love and mercy, and my hosts of heaven shall cause babes and fools to confound the wise, by signs and miracles. My hosts from heaven shall cause chairs to speak, and inanimate things to walk and dance. The dead shall reappear to the living, and talk with them face to face, and eat and drink, and prove themselves to the children of earth, and make my kingdoms known. Yea, they shall encompass the whole earth around about with signs and wonders, and set at naught the philosophy of men and the idolatries of the ancients. For both, the living and dead, shall know that I, Jehovah, live and reign over heaven and earth. This shall be a new era, and it shall be called Kosmon, because it embraced the present and all the past. Then will I reveal myself, and they that deny me shall accept me. Of their own accord will they put away their lords and their gods and their saviors, nor shall they more have idols of me, either on earth or in heaven, for I am sufficient unto all. Chapter 20. Jehovah overthroweth slavery in Guatama. 1. S said, In the olden times, and in the eastern countries, Jehovah began his revelations. The western continent he left for the finishing thereof. 2. Now, when God looked abroad over Guatama, he saw 4 millions of people in bondage, as slaves, and he saw that they must be liberated. And so, God inquired of the chief mathematician in the holy council, one Arik, saying, Who, of all the kings of earth, hath had the greatest number of slaves? 3. And Arik said, Xerxes, who dwelleth in Yopiga, in atmosphere. 4. God said, Send thou a heavenly ship for him, and for 1,000,000,000 of his angels. And send also for the Argosian, Leonidas, and for 1,000,000,000 of his angels. And, when they are brought here, they shall descend to the earth, to these barbarians, and liberate their slaves. 5. Arik saluted, and departed, giving his instructions to the heavenly marshals, who at once sent ships and messengers as directed. 6. God, then, said, I will now recall the ashes, who hold guard over these mortals, and, for a season, they shall dwell in Drugan darkness. 7. And this was accomplished, and straightway a war ensued betwixt the owners of the slaves and the neighboring states. 8. Then came the gods and angels, high in the grades, to witness the play of mortal death, and to determine how best to win to liberty and to Jehovih, the inhabitants of this great land. 9. God had said, It is an easy matter to win in war, but to make mortals see the triumph of righteousness, is not so easy. Therefore, be discreet in appropriating testimony unto Jehovih. 10. And there rose up 2,000,000 men in arms, pushing on in war on every side, coursing the rich soil in mortal blood. And yet neither side had defined its principles, or taken stand for righteousness' sake, but went on in fearful destruction, laying in death tens of thousands, and tens of thousands. 11. Jehovah said, Send thou, thy Parserian and Argosian angels, down to these mortals, and, by inspiration and by dreams and by visions, thy angels shall say to them, Whoso professeth the earth, shall battle in vain, but whoso professeth righteousness in my name, shall win. And millions of angels descended, and tried to persuade them. 12. But mortals would not hear. Even the chief general, on liberty's side, closed his soul against Jehovah. I, himself, enforced slavery with his mighty army. 13. And years went on, and all the people began to perceive that, without righteousness, there would be no end to the war. 14. Jehovah said, Only death can reach these people, or make them behold my hand. Yet thou shalt send thy angel hosts over all the north regions and inspire them to call out for liberty. 15. Then went forth Xerxes and Leonidas, with their 2,000,000,000 angels, to overspread the north, to inspire mortals to a more heavenly stand, to make them see justice and liberty. 16. And, for 100 days, these angels dwelt with mortals, but many mortals were too gross in the earth to comprehend. Then, Xerxes came to New York, and took hence the guardian angels, those of holiness, and he left the city in the hand of Druhas. And, at once, the city was plunged in hell, riots, anarchy, and the people were as a mad people, wild and fearful. 17. Again, Jehovah spake in the holy council in heaven, saying, Let my angels go once more, and inspire mortals to rise to the light of my will. 18. Again, the angels overrun the land, inspiring mortals day and night to demand freedom for the slaves. And the ambassadress of Jehovah said to her inspiring hosts of angels, Number ye the mortals, north and south, as to their majority voice for freedom. 19. Now, when the gods numbered the mortals and graded them, they discovered the majority had turned to freedom's side. 20. Jehovah said to his ambassadress, Take thine own inspiring host, and go down to the earth, to Washington, to the president, and hold this matter up to him, that he may understand me. For he is not bound in doctrines. For which reason my angels made him president, and for this purpose which I have in hand. 21. And it shall come to pass that the president will hear thee, and he shall resolve in his own mind unto freedom for the slaves. But he will seek for some external sign, fearing he may have mistaken the angels that minister unto him. But I will provide a way for this end also. 22. And the angels of Jehovah went to the president in a vision, like a dream, and they called unto him. And he answered and said, Who art thou? 23. And the angels said, Such as come in Jehovah's name for freedom's sake. Behold, millions of his angels look down from heaven, and would come to thy armies, if thou wouldst but proclaim freedom to the slaves. Jehovah's hand is in this matter. 24. The president awoke, and was troubled with his dream. 25. The next night, the angels came again, and retold their words, and added thereunto, The great majority of the country is ripe for this matter. Thou fearest this is but a foolish dream. Behold, we will give thee proof tomorrow. 26. The president awoke more troubled than before, but remembered, the angels said, We will give thee proof tomorrow. 27. Jehovah said, I will make this matter a testimony to this nation, so that no man may gainsay it. And I will show also how my angels work singly and in mighty legions. 28. Now, at that time, there was living in Washington a seeress, through whom spirits spake in her entrancement. And on the day mentioned, the angels spake through her, saying, Go and fetch the president into the presence of this woman. 29. And the president was told what was said. And when the president came before the seeress, the angel of Jehovah entranced her, and said unto him, We said, we would give thee proof tomorrow. Behold, we repeat unto thee, Jehovah is in this matter. Save thou proclaimest the freedom of the slaves, thou shalt not succeed. Do thou this, and the enemy's armies shall melt away like snow in the sun. 30. The president's eyes were opened, and he went straight away, and proclaimed freedom to the whole 4 million slaves. 31. Xerxes said to Leonidas, Thou, great conqueror, thou shalt conquer me. Take thy 1,000,000,000 angels, and go with the armies of the north, and inspire them on to victory. Give them such strength and courage as they have not before manifested. And, as for myself and my hosts, we will go to the armies of the south, and we will inspire them to believe they are conquered, and so make them flee before thy soldiers. 32. Thus, these great angel warriors allotted themselves to the war. And, lo and behold, the northern armies ran forth over the enemy's country as if war were but play, and the southern armies vanished, disarming themselves, and returning to their homes. 33. The slaves were free. 34. Jehovah said, Let this be a testimony, that this land is the place of the beginning of the Kosmon era. There shall be no caste amongst my people. 35. Behold, I went to the Israelites, and in that day, I said, Keep yourselves as a separate people. For I had work for them, which was to travel westward, and establish me, the All-One. And they came westward, and fulfilled my commandments. Wherefore I have blessed them. 36. And I went to Shinya, and I said, Let the followers of Tein keep themselves as an exclusive people, for I have a work for them, which was to establish me, the All-One, and to demonstrate the most numerous people in all the world united as one people, peacefully. And they have accomplished their work. And I blessed them. And I went to Vindu also, and established a mighty people with a multiplicity of gods and languages. For I had a work for them to do, which was to preserve my revelations of some of the divisions in my heavens above, and to prove, in after time, things which I had revealed to the ancients. They have accomplished their work also, and I have blessed them. 37. But, in this era, I come not to an exclusive people, but to the combination of all peoples commingled together as one people. Hence, I have called this, the Kosmon era. 38. Henceforth, my chosen shall be of the amalgamated races, who choose me. And these shall become the best, most perfect of all peoples on the earth. 39. And they shall not consider race or color, but health and nobleness as to the mortal part, and as to spirit, peace, love, wisdom and good works, and one great spirit only. 40. Leonidas said to Xerxes, It will be revealed ere long that we have been here with our angel hosts. As a testimony of this, let us allot a number of our angels to remain a season with mortals. And they shall inspire them to athletic sports peculiar to the Argosians and Parsians. 41. To this, Xerxes consented, and they asked for 600,000 angel volunteers, and they received them, and officered them, and distributed them in such way that their inspiration should develop mortals in health, strength and endurance, by means of athletic games. 42. And it came to pass that the angels of heaven established athletic games amongst this people, far and near. Jehovah said, Even in this shall man behold the cause of causes which leave behind all things done on the earth. 43. And man searched as to the cause of these things, and tried to persuade himself of any cause but the true one. 44. Jehovah said, I will show these people, that the chief causes of great affairs amongst mortals come from the angels of my heavens. 45. I come in Kosmon not to free only the corporeal man, but the spiritual man. I raised my hand against a god being founded in their constitution, neither will I have them to fight battles for me. The past is past, angels and mortals shall be free. Chapter 21. Ascent of the Etherian hosts. 1. Said, God, Jehovah's son, was relieved of his arduous toils over the earth and her heavens, and his successor, and the lords were duly crowned. 2. Then, the chieftainesses and high gods and goddesses, from the Etherian heavens, prepared for the marriage of Jehovah's brides and bridegrooms. 3. And God and his lords and high officers called in all heavenly grades prepared for the third resurrection, and there were, in all, 27,000 million brides and bridegrooms. 4. Beside these, there were in paradise, to witness the ceremonies, more than 30,000 million angels of lower grades. 5. So, accordingly, the ceremonies were accomplished in the usual form, and the brides and bridegrooms were conducted into the avalanches, of which there were 11 in number. Then went in the Etherian hosts, who had brought forth the birth of Kosmon. And, after them, God and his lords and high officers. 6. In the meantime, the Essenors and trumpeters, 2,000 millions, chanted and played before the hosts in glory to Jehovah. 7. After that, the chieftainess gave the signal for the ascent, and, with one voice, the mighty host said, Arise. To thee, Jehovah. Nearer, nearer to thee, thou Almighty. 8. And the fire ships started upward, turning and rising. With more than 40,000 million angels aboard, rose the avalanches above the pillars of fire, above the throne of God, higher and higher, turned and rose the ships of the hosts of Jehovah. 9. And the angels arising, and the angels below, clapped their hands and shouted in glee and exalted glory, because of the overwhelming scene. 10. Thus rose up, and departed to the higher heavens, those thousands of millions of worshippers of the Creator, who had witnessed the birth of the Kosmon era, for the angels and mortals of this world. End of Book of S, daughter of Jehovih.